Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. As you can see, it's bloody freezing again, but I'm not putting the heating on. I'm not doing it. You're not getting me like that. No, you're not. I'm not paying those energy thieving bastards any more money than I have to. Anyway, enough of that. Let us praise the great Ukrainian fighter, Oleksandr Usyk. And I very rarely do this when someone is still active because you can't really judge them historically. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to talk about his career up to this point because this man is an extraordinary talent and a truly magnificent fighter. And in the build up to this fight, a lot of other people have made a big deal out of this. I've mentioned it. They've talked about how the build up suggested that there could be some sort of skullduggery afoot regarding scoring, judging. Turki Al-Sheikh was absolutely as partisan as you can be regarding Usyk, regarding Fury rather, saying he wanted Fury to win. His plans were to put, the vengeful Fury who won the return in with AJ and at Wembley and, all this sort of stuff was going on. And Usyk, as is the case, went about his business and won yet another fight that was, at the very least, people beforehand considered competitive on the road. In fact, he's won all his titles on the road, but we'll come to that later. Now, when you consider that this man, he's 37, he's an impeccably preserved 37, and he currently stands with 23 wins, 14 KOs, no draws, no defeats. Has anyone come close to beating him? Well, I thought he clearly won both the fights against Fury, but Fury gave him problems. I don't hold with the idea that both those fights were one-way traffic. I certainly don't hold with the idea that, Usyk, even despite that 9th round where he all but knocked Fury out, there were moments in there which could have been considered crisis moments or miniature crisis, potential crisis moments. And he came through them. And as Teddy Atlas said, he said it a few times actually about Usyk, he finds a way to win. I saw a post-fight interview for just after the second fight, the one last night. And Atlas said that he was sitting with his son watching the fight. And Fury had a very good 5th round. And Atlas turned to his son and said, right, watch this. Watch what Usyk does now. He'll come back. He'll find that way to win. That is the definition of a truly great fighting man, who faces adversity, faces potential crisis, and, moves up a gear. And the fact that he did it the fact that in recent years he did it twice against such a huge man, Fury, who varied his tactics. I mean, I thought weirdly enough, Fury fought much better in the second fight than he did in the first fight and showed a lot of skills and, again, a lot of mental strength. And Fury, regardless of what you think of him outside the ring, he is a true fighting man. He's a very, very good fighter. But Usyk was just better. And Usyk, I had it 116, 112 last night. In the first fight, I clearly had Usyk winning. I don't hold with the idea that he just won, 10 of the 12 rounds or whatever it is some people say. No, I don't agree with that at all. I actually think Fury had a pretty decent first 5 or 6 rounds. But whatever you say about Usyk, regardless of the opponent, regardless of how big the opponent is, regardless of whether the opponent is orthodox or a southpaw, regardless of the style of the opponent, if they're a come-forward, front-footed, aggressive fighter, if they're back-footed and they like to, give angle, it doesn't matter. This guy beats you. And if you look at Fury, the 2 fights, the conditioning of Fury and the tactics that he employed and the style that he employed, Usyk had him, okay? And that's not meant to be an anti-Fury comment, okay? I have seen a few ludicrous Fury fanboys say that Fury won both those fights. He was robbed twice. He was robbed yesterday, apparently. Apparently dominated yesterday. Did you know that? What do you do now? This video is not for them, and no videos that I ever make will be for anyone who is that dumb or that completely void of the capability of being objective. It's for intelligent people and people who love boxing more than they do any one fighter. We all admire certain fighters. I greatly admire Oleksandr Usyk, but I can still admire what Tyson Fury, even though I don't particularly like the guy out the ring, I don't think he's a particularly honest person, but in the ring, he's a fighter. And there's no shame in losing twice on points to Oleksandr Usyk. The Fury fanboys were chuckling. Well, no, they weren't actually. Let me correct myself. They were laughing out loud. They were LOLing at Anthony Joshua when he lost twice to Usyk. And yeah, he definitely lost both those fights. But is there any shame in going 24 rounds with Oleksandr Usyk, whether you're Fury or whether you're Joshua? I don't think so. I think he's a great, great fighter. So let's look at the man who defeated everyone else, and outside the ring, including inside the ring. Okay, so there is this idea that Usyk has never fought in his home country of the Ukraine. In fact, he had 8 of his first 9 fights in Ukraine against, average opposition, no one of any note, But interestingly, he has never faced someone with a losing record, ever. And in fact, even though he fought 8 of his first 9 fights in Ukraine, he has not fought in Ukraine for 9 years and 10 days. That's the exact amount of time between yesterday's fight and the last time he fought in Ukraine. 9 years, 10 days. Okay. So his first, I don't know about his first, he won I think it was a WBO trinket initially, which was, I should point out, by the way, he turned pro in 2013. I forgot to mention it. So he's been a pro for 11 years. I think he turned pro the back end of 2013. So yeah, that would be 11 years. He won a WBO trinket thing, intercontinental, international title, whatever the hell it was, which got him a ranking. And he actually defended it quite a few times before eventually facing the undefeated at the time, Krzysztof Glowacki in Poland. If you know anything about Poland, if you know anything about geography, it's next door to Ukraine, so we didn't have that far to travel. And Glowacki came in with 26 wins, no draws, no defeats. And even though he won a few rounds against Usyk, at least on 2 of the cards, Usyk won a unanimous decision. He then stopped Tbilisi Machunu in a defense that was in 9 rounds. And then he faced Michael Hunter, who was undefeated at the time, 12 wins, no draws, no defeats. And he won a unanimous decision. Again, he lost a few rounds, maybe 3 rounds, 4 rounds. No, not 4 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. Let's say 3 rounds against Hunter. Hunter would go on to threaten to have a very good career at heavyweight. Got a draw with Povetkin, stopped Martin Bakole. I mean, how good does that result look now? But, in America, I should point out, he fought Hunter in America, Usyk did, and he won. He then stopped Marco Huck, who at this point was a veteran, but still had 40 wins, 4 defeats and 1 draw. Usyk stopped him in 10 rounds, and he then had, by the way, these were WBO cruiserweight title defenses. He then had a unification with Maris Briedis. And by the way, Marco Huck, I should point out, German. This was in Germany, of course. He stopped the German in Germany in 10 rounds. He then fought Maris Briedis in Latvia, in Riga in Latvia. Riga, one of the best countries I've visited for many, many years. I really love that little country. And Briedis was a big superstar over there. It's a very small nation. Riga is one of my favourite cities. I love Riga. But anyway, Usyk was given a very tough fight, at least on the cards. And I remember that fight. I'm going to have to go back and watch that fight sometime because it was a majority decision. But I remember thinking Briedis is giving Usyk plenty to handle here. This is a good performance by Briedis. But he did lose. He lost a majority decision. One had it 114, and two people had it 115, 2 of the judges. Okay, now that might just be the last time that Usyk was in any shape or form threatened with defeat of any sort. But he got a decision in Riga against a Latvian. So not bad, Then he goes over to Russia. Oops, Ukraine versus Russia. Murat Gasayev. beats him in Moscow, unanimous decision. This was the World Boxing Super Series thing, by the way. I should have pointed that out. I think they have the IBF. I think Bradis had the WBC, and I can't remember where the WBA fits in, but I know Gasayev had one of the belts, and so Usyk picks up the whole damn lot. Okay. Yeah, that was the one that made him an undisputed champ and also World Boxing Super Series champ. And he pretty much whitewashed Gasayev. Gasayev didn't win more than a couple of rounds, I think. So, undisputed champ. Not bad, really. Not bad. And that was 6 years ago. That was in 2018. So he then fights. He then comes to Britain. He thinks about moving up to heavyweight. Go on, I'll go over to Britain and beat up Tony Bellew, who at the time was 30 wins, 2 defeats and 1 draw, and was coming off 2 victories over, pretty much maybe not a shot, but certainly, I'll go on and he's shot. David Hay. We'll go with him being shot. And he knocks out Bellew in defence of the undisputed title in 8 rounds. Bellew gave him a few problems early on, at least something to think about. And then having done everything he possibly could at cruiserweight in 2019, up he moves to heavyweight. He beats Chaz Witherspoon, 7-round retirement. He then faces Derek Chisora and is given something to think about early on. 2 of those cards were 115, 113. But it was a unanimous decision for Usyk. Again, in Britain. So let's just do a quick recap before we go any further. So he fought in Germany, beat a German in Germany, he beat a Latvian in Latvia, he's beaten a Russian in Russia, he's beaten Americans in the United States, and he's beaten British fighters in the United Kingdom, okay? And he then goes over to, he beats Chisora, that was at Wembley, by the way, the Chisora in Wembley Arena, and he then fights Anthony Joshua for 3 of the belts. This is at Tottenham, and he beats him. Unanimous decision. He was cut, I think, over the eyebrow, left eyebrow, but good fight anyway, dominated Joshua, clearly won, almost stopped Joshua in the final round. And he says, no problem, I'll give you a rematch. But this one was over in Jeddah. And he wins a split decision, which should have been unanimous. Now, an example of Teddy Atlas's, this guy finds a way to win, would be in the 10th round against Joshua, because Joshua was coming on strong. Joshua was losing the fight, but he was coming on strong. And in the 10th round, he actually put it on Usyk for probably the most convincing little cameo that we saw over that entire 24 rounds. And what did Usyk do in the 11th round? Went through the gears, turned up the heat, and stamped his authority on the win, which was a split decision. So he needed to do that in the 11th and 12th round just to say, hang on a minute, don't get ideas, I'm winning this. And he did win it. He won it. Split decision, should have been unanimous. First 24 rounds with Anthony Joshua. He then has a little, we'll call it a ticking over fight. It was over in Poland, which again, next door to Ukraine, but still not Usyk's home country. Daniel Dubois. All right. We know what Daniel Dubois has done since August 2023, when he got knocked out in 9 rounds, when he essentially quit against Usyk. There was that stupid non-controversy about it was a low blow. Don't give me any bullshit about it not being low blow. It was a low blow. Dubois really has come on strong. He's absolutely flying. He's got immense momentum. I'd love to see a rematch between him and Usyk, because I wouldn't rule Dubois out in that fight, to be honest with you. But he got knocked out. He got demoralised. He quit in 9 rounds. And then, of course, we move on to the 2 Tyson Fury fights, which, in my opinion, there was a split decision and a unanimous decision. In my opinion, they should both have been unanimous decisions, because that was for all the marbles. So we end up with a guy, 37 years old, Oleksandr Usyk, who has completely dominated 2 weight divisions. The cruiserweight division, which at the time was extremely talented. I mean, the people he beat at cruiserweight were very, very good fighters. An undefeated Glowacki, undefeated Bridis, Marco Hook had something left. He mopped up the gravy, didn't just become undisputed. He won that, the World Boxing Super Series thing, whatever it was called, the thing that the Sauerlands used to run before they decided instead to go and run Misfits. And then he moved up to heavyweight and beat the two supposedly dominant heavyweights twice. All right. So this is an absolutely magnificent fighter, and we should appreciate him while he's here. And that takes nothing away from other very, very good heavyweights like Tyson Fury, like Anthony Joshua. You know, Daniel Dubois is terrific. What have they all got in common? Oleksandr Usyk's beaten them. In fact, he's beaten two of them twice. So I say in praise of Oleksandr Usyk, a man who not only has done everything in the ring on the road, but has faced potential judging, shall we say, injustices, with a couple of split decisions that should definitely have been unanimous decisions. What a magnificent fighter. Yeah, an absolutely brilliant fighter. One for the ages. So what do you think? What do you think of Usyk? I think I can guess, unless you're a Fury fanboy, in which case you're going to be, you've got your head so far up your arse you can fucking bump into what little brain you've got. But leave your comments below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you like this video, please hit the like button as well, because you're helping the channel out. It's your channel. A bit pointless me making these videos if it's just me talking to myself in it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're surviving the cold better than I am. But then you're probably putting the heating on, you bloody cowards. Just kidding. Much love. See you later. Bye for now.